Hi, so this week we are focusing on hip stability, and I've got 5 different exercises which are probably a little more unusual when it comes to the sort of strength-based work we've been doing. So this is strength, you're getting stronger, but we're actually more interested in what your hips can do, how they move, and how much control you have when you move them. So it's not so much about doing reps and getting muscles and this sort of thing today. It's being able to control those movements through your hips, and you can't do anything in life without your hips. They're extremely important. So we're going to try and do everything nice and slow and use some obstacles, increase the challenge as we go through. So the first thing we're going to look at is a side kick hold. I should say, make sure you do your stretches from the previous video as well as a warm-up for this. These are all important to make sure you're in as good a condition as you can be before starting this work. So if you haven't done so already, go back and do the stretches from the previous video. I should always say that. Okay, at the start of the last stretch number 2, we did a sort of a side leg extension, which was the stretch here. Today, we're going to do a hold with our leg levitating if we can. So what I'm looking for you to do is to hold your leg here. And all I'm going to ask you to do is hold this for 10 seconds. If that's too tough, you can hold it with a bend in your leg, but preferably hold it all the way out. There's 10. I'm going to crawl over here. I should maybe have done this whole video in landscape rather than portrait, but never mind. So I'm going to hold this out for 10 seconds. It's 5, 10. I can't really talk through that, so that's a bit of an example of how challenging these are going to be today. They are all going to be tough, but I'll try and give you an option to scale them back as we go through. Next up, we're going to look at doing hip circles with a little bit of an obstacle. So once again, bringing my trusty friend, this is called a parallel. It's for doing parallel based exercises like the L seat that I like to do. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to do a sort of donkey kick with a sort of sideways circle, a rotation of the hip. So we're going to lift, bend the knee up, twist it out, come over the obstacle and back in. And we're going to do this 5 times on each side and back in. 3. And I'm not bothered what you use as this obstacle. This is quite high, so I'm not going all the way over it. I'm just using it as a guide to make sure I'm getting enough height in this movement. So if I go really, really close, if I'll do it here, you'll see that on the way back in, I'm kind of struggling to get my leg back over there. So we'll do it again here, just clearing it and coming back in. So lift up, side, move around and come back in. That's number 3, 4 and 5. We normally do that sort of movement as part of a Spider-Man crunch. So it's a little bit different to how we normally do that. I'll just move this away to the side. We're going to do the same thing almost now, but we're going to do sort of hip abductions, which is that sideways movement, but as a leg raise. So you should be able to do it just in the middle here. So I'm going to go 1. I'm just doing the same shape. It's a bent knee, trying to hold 90 degrees. We'll do 10 on each side. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll swap sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now you might feel different parts of your upper body or back starting to, maybe not pain but fatigue as you're doing that exercise, because your core is having to work to provide extra strength when you're weaker in that area. So I'm not necessarily the strongest at the hip abduction. I've had sciatica before, so it's a weak area for me. So I really felt my sort of mid-back, lat muscles giving me stability to help me perform that movement. So you might feel different things throughout the body. Don't panic if you do. Next up, we're going to do a one-leg windscreen wipe. Now, I saw this on a video by someone else, and I like to do my windscreen wipers either on the bar or just on the ground, and I can't make this one look good. So this shows a real weakness in my strength in my hip flexor at the front of my leg. And all I'm going to ask you to do is sit nice and straight, have your hands sort of at the back just to give yourself a bit of control. You're going to lift the leg up and try and take it as wide as you can and do the same again. So it's like having a one leg windscreen wiper. I'm going to do 5 on each side. I would love my leg to go higher, but I can't do it. It's not going anywhere. So that shows a weakness in the front of my hip that I'll be hoping to fix or find a way. It's not the most graceful looking pose you've ever seen, but I can't really show it to you any other way. So same on this side, lift up and out. And I really want to be able to go higher, but my leg's not letting me do so. 2, 3, 4, and lastly, number 5. Okay, I'll just swap sides again so I'm not getting too fatigued on one leg. I'm going to bring my obstacle back, and what I will say is that this one is actually quite high for you to use. I'll give it a bash anyway. So all I'm going to get you to do is with the one leg, I need to move this further away, is with one leg we're just going to lift once over this obstacle. Every time backwards and forwards equals 1 rep, so we're going to do this 10 times. 4, and this should hopefully strengthen some of the problem that I was experiencing before, but that was also limited to range of movement too. So 5, we don't have to do this fast. The slower you can control the movement, the better. There's 8, and 9, and 10, I think that was. Really can feel that strongly down the hip flexor. I'll do the same here. 1, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, I've gone through that quite quick, just so your video isn't too long, but I'd like to take as much time as you can on each movement. And going through this, you probably want to take a little bit of at least a minute's rest before you move on to the next exercise. Because I think it will be quite taxing on the glutes that allow you to abduct, move to the side, and the hip flexor that allows you to lift up. I think you're going to feel this a lot, especially if you're someone that's been experiencing any of the pain or pops that I was describing the other day. You'll know if you get that. If you don't get any pain doing any body hit or boot camp workouts, then maybe you won't quite know what we're doing, but please go through it anyway. It might show up a weakness. Like me in particular, the hip flexor has a weakness when I'm doing that windscreen wiper because it feels like I can't go anywhere. So I want to try and work on what that problem is. Please give me all the feedback that you can give me in relation to what hurts, what feels funny, and if anything else hurts around the upper body as well that you might be worried about. Good luck, and I will speak to you again tomorrow for the challenge.